Hi, Alan Cowgill here, and I've got a question for you. Are you confused about the Securities and Exchange Commission when it comes to private lenders for your real estate business and the funding of your business? Well, I'd like to talk to you about that because I'm going to give you some information right now that, frankly, I think you ought to walk across broken glass to get if you don't know the first thing about what the SEC allows and what they don't allow when it comes to raising funds from private lenders. And maybe you're struggling also to determine, based on those rules and regulations, how they apply to your real estate business and what do you need to do to be successful. Well, if that's the case, then you're not alone. In fact, the SEC rules do apply to real estate investors on funding deals with private lenders because the promissory note is considered a security. Now, let me tell you what I have seen as the typical path for new real estate investors is they want something more out of life, and maybe they are dissatisfied with their job, and they hear that more millionaires are made in real estate than anything else, and they hear that they can invest in property with no money down, and that's good for a lot of people because they have no money. And then they start to study up on real estate. They get library books and internet searches and maybe free online newsletters. And then they find out that there's organizations out there called RIAs, Real Estate Investment Associations. And if they're smart, they join one. And then they buy home study systems and maybe they head to a live event. Maybe they even buy a property or two and get their feet wet and get started. And along the way, they hear things about private lenders and hard money lenders, and maybe they even jump out and run an ad to find a private lender. And oops, they just messed up because unlike trying to sell a car or a tie or a bicycle where you can advertise, when it comes to finding private lenders, you have to ask for permission before you go advertise, which means register with the SEC. So um, you've made a mistake if you run an ad. People need to know the rules. The rules are very easy. There's only a handful of them. But the problem with most real estate investors, they don't know what the rules are. And over the past several years, I've noticed that the vast majority of students who attend my live events, when they come in the door, their goal is to attract private lenders, and they fit much of the above scenario that I just shared with you. And I realized that I needed to do something to simplify the entire process. And because the truth is, failure to comply with the SEC rules and regulations can lead to fines, maybe even jail time if things really go awry, and maybe the loss of your business if you go out and create a Ponzi scheme or something like that. You see, I realized that all real estate investors had choices to make on how to attract private lenders and how much money to raise. And now, based on the combination of those choices, you end up with a handful of SEC program options that you can pick from. So, the key with a real estate investor is to figure out what the choices are that you have to make that is in the framework of the SEC. And based on those choices, you will be able to know which program you're allowed to use to attract private lenders and grow your business. You see, real estate investors don't know the SEC upfront rules and restrictions on attracting private lenders. But once they do figure that out, then they struggle at determining what program they can use, and more about that in just a second. First off, you got to realize that you have choices. Do you want to advertise, or do you want to do the way I started out, which is work with family, friends, and associates? Maybe you want to borrow money in one state and use it in another state. And how much money do you want to raise overall? If you're good under a million, if you're going to stay within your state, well, then you're in what's called an exempt category. But if you want to do more than that and do something else, then you need to know how to navigate uh, the highway on what to do. So the first step and my point here is you need to know what the parameters are. In fact, most folks don't know that you can't advertise to get private lenders until they meet me and or an SEC attorney. I'm not an attorney and I don't provide legal advice, but my job is to teach real estate investors how to stay safe. So I hired an attorney. And once you figure out what these options are, then you realize that as you're going down the highway, you got different plans that you can pick from the SEC. Your particular choices determine which SEC program you fit into. You see, the SEC allows certain programs out there. For an example, they've got on the rule books a thing called a private placement memorandum. You might know that as syndication. If you want to read up on it, you go out and you look up Regulation 506 Reg D. 506 Reg D. Just Google it, and you'll find it. You can read up on it. Or some real estate investors are knowledgeable enough to know about accredited investors, and these are folks that are worth $1 million and they're making $200,000 this year and expect to make it next year. And the SEC gives you a lot more latitude with those folks. Or maybe you want to just do the way I started out, which is borrow money from folks you got a prior relationship. But my point is that these are the different programs, and it's all based on your initial choices that enables you to figure out which SEC program are you allowed. You see, how do you want to find private lenders? Do you want to use family, friends, and associates? Well, okay, that's one path. Or if you want to advertise, that's a second path. How much money you want to raise, that all is factored into this. So those are your options in that option box that I've got on the screen. And once you can figure that out, it would seem to me that you ought to be able to determine what your program is, which is true. Now, so I got thinking about this. I was wondering if there was a magic combination that was simple to use and understand for real estate investors so they could easily see exactly which program was right for them based on their desires that they wanted to do, whether they wanted to advertise or not advertise. While it's an incredibly simple idea, there was nothing simple about coming up with a tool to satisfy that. And in time, for me, it became a quest trying to figure this out for real estate investors. Why did it become a quest? Well, I could solve, number one is I could solve the frustration I saw real estate investors face when they try to untangle the SEC restrictions and then figure out what program was allowed. And my goal was to eliminate that frustration for real estate investors. And then cost. You know, it costs money to hire an SEC attorney to provide the exact information my students needed, and I could provide it for virtually pennies compared to having an attorney research this information for my students. So I knew I could. Now, you need to know too, I am very pro SEC attorney, and if you need one, I want you to hire one. There is just some upfront information that I knew I could provide that would help the real estate investor then decide whether they needed an SEC attorney or not. And that having that upfront information rather than hiring an attorney to do that would save a lot of money. In fact, I'll show you just a rough estimate what it could save you. And then my knowledge. You see, I paid my SEC attorney over the years tons of money to do tons of research. And I had a passion to create this tool that I'm talking to you about. But most of all, I knew that if no one else out there was able to produce something so necessary and powerful in our industry, and I was close and I wanted to do it. The opportunity was now to make a difference for real estate investors, so I wanted to get on with it. And if I could pull this off, it would be priceless, just knowing that my students had the information they need at their fingertips to make informed decisions about their business and actually enable them to be able to sleep at night because they knew that they had done things the right way in compliance with the SEC. And the most important reason for me is I could do my part to keep folks safe in compliance with the SEC requirements through education, which is my goal. It actually took me many tries and over a year to come up with a powerful tool, but the end product was certainly worth the effort. Frankly, I was a pioneer in this development, and I didn't know if I could get it done. And I kept hammering away and hammering away, and I kept coming back to it and hammering away, and I finally got it. And when I unveiled it for the very first time at my live event, I got a standing ovation because they realized it is what they had been seeking. Here's what I've done. I've created this simple, easy-to-use tool that will first let you determine exactly what you want to do with your business based on the SEC criteria, and then tell you exactly what program or programs, could be plural, you can use. And I've done it all in concert with the SEC regulations, obviously. This tool puts the vital information about the SEC right in the palm of your hand in a simple and easy to understand format. In other words, this handy tool will quickly and easily erase all doubts and worries you have about the SEC requirements and allow you to chart a firm course for future growth and success. Quite simply, there's never been anything like this available to real estate investors before. Ever. Ever, ever. Anybody else wanted this information, they either had to come to my live event, and even then I saw that they needed more information, and many folks then would gravitate over to hiring an SEC attorney, which is great. But wouldn't it be great to have a vision right up front before you knock on that attorney's door? You know, this tool will simply, easily, and quickly allow you to pick what you want to do with your business when it comes to private lenders, and then see exactly what type of program you should use to be in compliance. It is that simple, but it is not information that was easy to figure out as far as putting it into a nice tool that was simple for everybody. And that's the exact goal of nearly everybody that attends my boot camp, is to figure out what they need to do to stay in compliance with the SEC, and therefore that gravitates right over into what type of program can they use. Like we talked about private placement memorandums, and we talked about dealing with family, friends, and associates. We talked about advertising. Knowing up front, okay, I want to advertise. Okay, well, what SEC program can you use? You know, I know this knowledge of what you are allowed to do will shock many of you. In fact, many of you, when you realize what you can and can't do, will shock you. Why? Because you've never been told this information before, and not even from many other of the newbies out there, private lending gurus that are teaching this stuff. Let me ask you, how would you like to simply, easily, and cheaply have a laser beam focus on what SEC program you must use and be safe in doing it? Now you can say goodbye to the stress and worry that come with being unsure about how the SEC applies to your business. Here's how you can quickly and easily determine your SEC classification and requirements without spending thousands of dollars on attorneys or wasting your valuable time and hours and personal time. Available for the first time ever is my new system, brand new, Navigating the SEC Highway. And let me tell you about it. What it does, it's a worksheet that I've created to determine your program. It takes your options. In fact, many of you don't know the options. The enlightening thing for this system will be the front end piece of it. Will be, okay, if I want to borrow money out of state, what's my options? If I want to advertise, what's my options? And then what it does is it boils it down, and it puts in your hands, based on what you want to do with your company, what SEC program you need to use. The magic bullet for me was the power and the results, the easy use with my formula and my matrix. In fact, on this page at the bottom is a sample matrix, and the simplicity of it all fits on an 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper. This tool takes the confusing, jumbled requirements the SEC imposes on us and lays it out in a very simple chart where you just simply select a handful of items on what to do. You see, what I found out is that the SEC, their job is to go out and enforce the rules. Their job is not necessarily to train us. Even though they are a gigantic organization, their job is not to train us. And so therefore you have to hire a high-priced SEC attorney to get the information, unless you're able to find someone to do some training for you, and that's what I'm providing. Then you run this information through a simple matrix and come up with the results. So what information would that be? Okay, do you want to borrow money in state or out of state? Do you want to advertise? How much money do you want? And then finally, what it spits out is the exact SEC programs that you're allowed to use. Steps 1, 2, and 3, it's simple. 3 simple steps give you the exact programs you can use. And if you don't like your first choice, you go back to box number 1 and use the chart again, and in less than a minute, you've got new programs to select from. This is your chance to trade stress, uncertainty, for confidence and a laser beam focus when it comes to dealing with the SEC rules and regulations. Plus, if you order today, you also receive the manual, Navigating the SEC Highway Manual. This manual is a meaty 22-page laser beam approach document giving you a step-by-step process for navigating the chart. Included are examples and useful logic, plus a 21-minute audio by me where I'm going to show you how to utilize this tool that I have created. Navigating the SEC Highway, the 22-page manual, and the 21-minute audio, these two concise, very comprehensive tools describe the best use of the chart, as well as provide further vital information on how to ensure you always stay in compliance with the SEC. Let me ask you, what would you pay an SEC attorney to research and deliver this information to you? Just think about that. If you didn't have Navigating the SEC Highway from me, you would have to go out and hire an SEC attorney. Or, I'll tell you what, and this is sad, this is what most of you do. What most of you do, ignore that, and you go out and think it's the Wild West, and you go out and assume you're doing it the right way. You justify it in your mind, you make a mess, and then after you've done a bunch of deals and a bunch of private lenders and borrowed some money, then all of a sudden reality hits and you start looking for more information, getting more information, you find out that you've stubbed your toe, you made a mistake. It will cost you more money to dig out than what I'm getting ready to show you right now. Let's say you take an attorney 5 hours to meet with you, research legal books, determine where you fit, compile the data, send it to you in a letter, and spend more time with you on the phone or in a second meeting. That 5 hours at $425 an hour, which is what I pay one of my attorneys, adds up to $2,025 just to get the answer. Just to get the answer on which program your business fits into based on your criteria. So I talked to my office about this. I said, look, I can't, charge any big dollars for this system, even though it's very powerful. System's not large. You already saw the size of the books and the audio and the chart. The chart is the heart. The key with the chart is it's powerful. Well, they said, hands down, that they wanted me to charge $250, and frankly, navigating the SEC highway system would be a steal for that, because there's nobody out there that's created this. There's nothing like it on the planet, and to get the information, you have to go to an attorney and pay for an attorney, or a worse choice is to go out and wing it without the knowledge. But I've decided to do even better and save everybody a ton of money by making the system a digital download. In fact, I took a survey at my last boot camp, and I asked folks, I said, would you rather have a hard copy home study system, or would you rather have a cheaper system, less expensive system, if it was digital download? And everybody, virtually 90%, I can't say everybody, but 90+% raised their hand. You order now and you can have the Navigating SEC Highway Chart, the tool that is going to make a big impact in this industry because there's nothing else there like it. And a company 22-page manual that describes how to work the chart. That's the key on that, and additional logic that you need to have. And the 21-minute audio from me for a dirt cheap $97. 97 bucks. That's less than you have to pay an SEC attorney, as you just saw, and a fraction of what you could end up paying in fines, penalties, emotional stress, and embarrassment An embarrassment where you think you're some hotshot real estate investor, and now all of a sudden you get yourself slapped and spanked by the SEC. Should you violate any of the SEC rules and regulations, you will feel all those fines, penalties, emotional stress, and embarrassment. You could if they decide to fine you. Here's what my new student had to say about this system. He got his hands on it. Mike Hall, great guy. He says the SEC program guide was very useful. It really helped me identify the path I needed to take. I'm going for the register. That means he's going to register the SEC so he can advertise. As you mentioned in the home study course, I want to be able to sleep sound at night knowing that I'm in compliance. Thanks for pointing me down the straight and narrow path. Hey, folks, that was an unsolicited response from Mike when he got his hands on navigating the SEC highway system. He was struggling. He's like many of you out there saying, well, should I advertise to get private lenders? Do I have to register? I don't want to register. If I don't want to register, then I can't advertise. So what's my other options? This system answers all of that. Maybe best of all, the navigating the SEC highway system will give you complete peace of mind regarding which SEC rules and regulations apply to your business. There is no other tool like this on the planet because I created it. There is nothing else out there. Be the first to get your hands on this wonderful and powerful tool. Super bonus is for those of you that order right now from this video. I'm going to let you ask me a question after you go through the chart. Once you listen to the audio, read the manual, and you use the chart. You have to use the chart. I'll know it when you ask me the question. Then all you have to do is when you order, just respond back to that email. Tell my office that you want to get a hold of me, and I'll work with you and answer your question. If I can't answer it, I'll give it to my SEC attorney. Let him work with you. Your purchase be backed with a 7-day money-back guarantee. If you don't like the tool for any reason or for no reason at all, simply contact me within 7 days, and you get a full, prompt, and courteous refund. And let me tell you one of the best reasons to get navigating the SEC highways, and I'm sure you haven't thought about this. Many of you, your business model will change in time. So the best reason to invest in this easy-use system is when you want to change. And I have seen this happen over and over again. Somebody gets into the business and they're buying ugly, stinky, single-family houses like I do, and the next thing they want to do is they want to get into commercial stuff. They want to get into storage units. They want to get into multi-unit apartment complexes. They want to get into something else, and their model of their business homes, or they want to start doing pretty houses. Well, and what happens is you want to go out and do bigger and better deals on that. And let's say you change from folks you know to where you want to advertise, or you want to go over $1 million in private money, or you want to borrow money from someone in another state, or many people in another state. Well, you've got this tool in your hand. In less than 5 minutes, you'll have the exact SEC program that you should move to be successful. And one of the greatest things about having this tool is that your business grows, or if circumstances change, you can always go back to it and put in different options to quickly see what your new requirements will be. This is sure to be a tool that you'll use for years and years, and frankly, my office is beating my brains out to raise the price. If you want it for $97, you need to order now. I put on there a link, http, write this down, http:// bit.ly, bit.ly, bit.ly / and then a capital M, a capital K, a small W, a capital F, a small J, and a small V. What's a bit.ly link? They just take big long links like this one and shrink them, and that's what I did. Also, what you should see in just a second is an orange button come up, and you can click on that, and that will take you to the same place. Get your hands on this. You got nothing to lose and everything to gain. Check it out. If it's not for you, you get a prompt and courteous refund. But you're going to love this, and it's a fabulous tool, and it will answer so many questions that I'm sure you've been struggling with. And frankly, it's tremendously underpriced. But this is my introductory offer. I want to get it in some folks' hands that can see the value and see the need and are tired of worrying about the SEC. This is going to do two things. One is it's going to take and show you right off the bat what are the different criteria programs that the SEC takes a look at based on what they allow a real estate investor to do. And then number two is give you the program. And what I've found is that some people will pick a program and they end up with they have to go back to the drawing board on, and that is very enlightening. And then in other cases they'll get the exact program, the only program that they can use. In other cases they'll get 2, 3, maybe 5 different programs that the SEC allows them to use. Very powerful, wonderful. Get your hands on Navigating the SEC Highway right now. Nothing to lose, everything to gain to your wealth.